Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at OIC of South Florida Virtual Industry Advisory Board webinar. Today's topic is Bridging the Gap. The purpose of this event is to provide resources for connecting apprenticeships and employers. Our panelists are here today to help bridge the gap between training and employment. And as we know, a lot has changed with the economy, so we want to make sure we continue to share the best practices on how to thrive during our current state. We will have our panelists, Mr. Sherrod Walker of OIC of South Florida, Ms. Sherry Colas-Gervais of Miami Community Ventures, Dr. Alexa Rowe of MiamiDade College, Mr. Bradley Keeby of Florida Masonry Apprenticeships, Ms. Catherine Menes from the Office of Economic and Small Business Development of Broward County, and lastly, our director, Mr. Anthony Robinson, will bring us to a closing. We thank you again for attending. If you have any questions during one of our presenters, please make sure to use the Q&A feature below, and we will make sure to have your questions answered. Thank you once again.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out to come again. As our illustrious leader would normally say, OIC is here to help those in a world of helping others, as well as to giving people a hand up. And as you all know, OIC is committed to giving people the training and education needed in order to attain the jobs that they would need to be effective in life and become lifelong learners and productive citizens of society. With that being said, in addition to that, I want to thank all the panelists for their time this morning, for coming out, for being able to join us, and we appreciate that. So again, thank you, because we know your schedules are so very, very busy. In addition to that, I want to move forward to our OIC of South Florida pre-apprenticeship trainings. So what we do at OIC of South Florida is we are moving in a direction that we want to prepare people that are either coming out of incarceration or that fell down in life at some point, and prepare them for their next steps. So by doing so, we're able to provide what we call pre-apprenticeship trainings. Those pre-apprenticeship trainings are related to our CompTIA A+ in the IT industry, warehouse logistics in the industry of trade and logistics, and food service operations in the tourism hospitality industry, and construction operations. Those 4 areas we have been approved by the Florida Department of Commission of Independent Education to offer those course offerings. Those course offerings are 250 course hours, or what we say in the other industry, in the relatively industry area of education, is the RTI, related technical instruction, is 250 hours or more. In apprenticeships, as you all may or may not know, is that you have to have 144 hours of RTI, related technical instruction. So we're offering those pre-apprenticeship programs to ensure students can get a hand up when it comes to the apprenticeship, and they already start out with a lot of background information. In addition to that, we are also working with Broward and Miami-Dade colleges to have articulation agreements in those 4 areas to ensure that when a student does go to Broward or Miami-Dade College, that they can articulate those core hours into credit hours to ensure that they have a fast track through the apprenticeship program. So that way a student, instead of maybe having to go through all of the coursework, they would start directly with the on-the-job training. Is there any questions at this time about our pre-apprenticeship at OIC?
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Walker. Our next panelist is going to be Ms. Sherry Colas-Gervais. She's the VP and Executive Director of Miami Community Ventures and Miami-Dade Beacon Council. Good morning, Ms. Gervais.
Good morning, Stefan. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I'm flattered and certainly welcome the opportunity to share my perspective, which I know is not only my perspective as it applies to apprenticeships. I'll pause because I know you have specific questions. And then I have a few slides that I'd like to share.
Okay. Well, first, if you could tell our audience a little bit about Miami Community Ventures and the Beacon Council and your role there.
Perfect. Yes, so certainly Sherry Kohler-Gervais, I'm Vice President and also Executive Director of Miami Community Ventures. And Miami Community Ventures it's an award-winning program, and I'm excited to be working on it. It was actually spearheaded by our CEO in Michigan, working with the governor. The program really aimed to work with structurally unemployed and connecting them with living wage jobs. And I would say it was meant, and still is meant, to really not only provide them jobs, but really connect them with occupations or careers for the longer term, and to have definitely an economic impact on our community and our economy. I would also say that the target are those that are most underserved. So we mentioned structurally unemployed. It's focused on certainly those on public assistance, as well as our ex-offenders or returning citizens, depending on your preference, as well as our disabled. And then subgroups includes veterans, as well as female heads of households. I can't forget that. That's an important component. We have the program running right now here in Miami-Dade County. We are moving forward with placements. We are partnered with many funders and very pleased to be partnering with OIC as well. And the program is actually at the point where the wages are higher than the living wage target. So our target is $13.61, and we are about 23% above in terms of the wages we've been able to actually generate. And I'll say it right now, a lot of it has to do with the apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs that we are connected with.
Excellent. With that being, have you seen many employers are hiring talents through our apprenticeship programs here locally?
Yes, actually, they're quite interested in hiring that. I looked at the numbers for Germany, and I think over 53% actually start off with the apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship programs. I think you're seeing that trend here. We are working with a number of partners that provide talent. The apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship programs actually provide a structure. It provides an opportunity and a path, and it's accessible to everyone. And so we're seeing that. And you know, when we look at our target audience, you know, sometimes college isn't the way to go. But being able to go and earn a compensation that's equal to, and in many cases higher than what our college graduates are getting, is a wonderful thing. And that's what the apprenticeship programs and the apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs offer to our community. And the benefits are both short-term and long-term. So it's exciting to be involved and to see that and to see it accelerate.
Okay. Another question. What value do you see in employers partnering with apprenticeships?
Oh, well, employers partnering with apprenticeships, and if you'd like to maybe go to the next few slides, I thought I'd share a little bit of the framework and really highlight the value. So the framework is really, you know, focused on certainly accessing the students. And, you know, we have qualified students that may not even know about apprenticeship or understand that they're excellent candidates for the apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship programs. And so the framework suggests that it's a partnership, a relationship, it's a connection. And so, you know, you have students and organizations like OIC, certainly you're working with students, they're qualified, you're doing the pre-apprenticeship program, there's industry certifications, and then most important, or perhaps equally important, are wraparound services. So as we're moving forward, you saw the path, and yes, I'm moving forward. We had apprenticeships that go in there. You'll notice the two are in orange because they really work hand in hand. That's the apprenticeship program and the employers. And then the Business Connect aspect of it, I highlighted because at the end of the day, the apprenticeships don't work without the employers. So pretty much that's what we do on the Miami Community Ventures level. It could really be another organization, could be an economic development organization such as the Beacon Council, but we work with businesses. Businesses are looking to hire, and an interesting fact, site selectors will tell you that businesses are looking at the workforce and the access and the quality in determining where they locate and where they grow. So with that connection, we then connect the businesses with the apprenticeship opportunities, and that's a connection that's lifelong. The pre-apprenticeship is wonderful because it gives them a ramp, but that's pretty much the flow. And then underneath, you'll notice I put mentorship. You know, I think that our students that come on board, and they're young or seasoned, as we say, but mentorship or wraparound services is really key. I mentioned earlier, it's really not a job. It's an occupation, it's a career, and it's long-term. So if we could go to the next one. This is really just, you know, we can talk about apprenticeship, but what really hits our understanding, and it hits the heart as well, is real people and their experiences and success stories. So I won't go through all the details, but I did pull, we're working with FIU Construction Trades, which is a pre-apprenticeship programs, and I pulled 2 examples, real life examples. And of course, the names are fictional, but one is homeless, and that was John. Homeless, and he went from homeless to employed at $22 an hour in 6 months. I mean, that doesn't just happen. That is really understanding the impact that these, and this is a pre-apprenticeship program, that it can have on individuals. Living wage is $13.61, and he's earning $22 an hour. What it did for him, he came to the table, he lacked confidence. It gave him confidence. He actually, you know, learned a trade and was able to contribute, and productivity went up. From an employer standpoint, productivity went up, retention went up, which is significant to the bottom line, and return on investment was there. So example number 2, Mary, this person was hearing impaired and actually functionally deaf, no confidence. He joined the apprenticeship program and then went on to the apprenticeship program, which he was accepted in because of his performance in the pre. And he's now at $23 an hour. And you'll see at the bottom, it's progressive in terms of he started at 11, went to 15 and 23, but that's great. And he's at $23 an hour, and I put plus because he's in the apprenticeship program. So that will continue to escalate and elevate. So if we could go to the next one, which is the last slide, what are the benefits? And I think that's extremely important. They offer benefits to employee, employer, and community. So from an employee standpoint, certainly upskilling. And you'll hear quite a bit about the future of work. You know, what will work look like? Well, in the apprenticeship world or pre-apprenticeship world, you're upskilling individuals and you are in step with what's happening in the future. A job at living wage certainly is not something that comes along every day, but the employee benefits from that by being in a pre or full apprenticeship program. Productivity goes up, certainly the support and the upward mobility. From an employer standpoint, they have a trained employee. But I'm going to go a step further. They have a trained employee that is company specific, because generally the trained employee is also working at the company. So they're learning the trade, but they're also learning and integrated into the company and its priorities and its culture. The business itself, I mentioned earlier, site selectors, that these businesses select the workforce. The business with that kind of formula will grow. Retention, definitely, there's no question about it. Retention goes up. And return on investment on both the qualitative and quantitative aspects are definite returns for the employer. So it's a great partnership. And then finally, community. Well, Miami Community Ventures and my involvement is very focused on certainly the individuals, the employer, but how is it impacting the community, not only for today, but for the longer term? Well, future workforce. You have and will continue to hear about the future of work. What does the first workforce look like? Well, we're creating it with apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. It's wealth building. It's an inclusive economy. Everyone has a path, and it's sustainability. So it's there for the longer term. At the end of the day, we all move forward, and we move forward and upward. So yes, I am a strong believer in the apprenticeship programs as well as the pre-apprenticeship programs. And I look forward to continuing that engagement and to elevating that as we take our steps. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gervais. There was a question in the Q&A. Someone wanted to know, Ms. Gervais, what's next? What's next to assist participants with the needed skills for long-term career advancements?
So the pre-apprenticeship programs and the apprenticeship programs, what I would say is what's next is I'm going to pull the employer in because it's a partnership. And, certainly community ventures is a resource in Miami-Dade County that anyone can tap. It comes with wraparound services, as is OIC, which partners with us. So what's next is if you're an employer, let's get connected and let's look at candidates that can be put into these ready pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs. And let's move forward.
Excellent. Thank you once again, Ms. Gervais. If anyone has any additional questions, or email can be found on the bottom right-hand corner of the PowerPoint. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next panelist, we will have Dr. Alexa Q. Rowe, the Director of Career and Technical Education at Miami-Dade College. Good morning, Dr. Rowe.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Well, best as I can be.
All right. Tell us a little bit about your role at Miami-Dade College and what's going on with apprenticeship programs there.
Okay, so I am Director of Career and Technical Education at Miami-Dade College. District, meaning that I oversee my department in all 8 campuses of Miami-Dade. We have 8 campuses streaming from Homestead all the way to around the Gratney 119, which technically would be Opalaka. And so my department oversees registered apprenticeship, and we are now becoming a sponsor of youth pre-apprenticeships as well, and we're in development of that. Right now, Miami-Dade College has 3 registered apprenticeships or 3 industries. We have an aviation, information technology, and transportation and logistics. And within those 3 industries, we have 6 registered apprenticeships. We are currently onboarding an additional 4, which is business management, human resources, crime scene technician, and medical assistant.
Wow.
Yeah.
This got a lot going on. With that being said, what are some of the barriers does Miami-Dade College face when finding the right companies to collaborate with?
Right, so the opposite of Ms. Sherry is that we're an educational institution. So the first challenge is that apprenticeships and educational institutions being a sponsor of apprenticeships is new. This was brought about with the Department of Education in late 2018. So Miami-Dade College was the first educational institution in the state of Florida to become a sponsor of apprenticeships. So that's a great thing, but it brings us challenges in the sense of we don't have the connection, direct connection with business like other organizations, be it Beacon Council or Miami Community Adventures. Our connection with businesses is just to assist us with maybe an advisory council or to help us build curriculum, so to speak. But when it comes to direct connections with their HR and seeing what they need, that has been a huge task. So I would say to you that my #1 barrier is reaching employers, and then employers outside the trade industry, because in the state of Florida, registered apprenticeships are more so in the trade industries, the electrician, the plumber, the construction areas. But the occupations that I mentioned when you're speaking of a crime scene technician, a medical assistant, cloud computing, help desk technician, these are new for the state of Florida when it comes to registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. So we're going to these companies and first having to sell the idea of apprenticeships. And they're not understanding why they cannot just bring in an incumbent, as they call them, posting the position versus going to a pre-apprenticeship or a registered apprenticeship. So 90% of my time is reaching employers and then selling apprenticeships to employers. That's my #1 barrier.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
With barriers, what barriers do you also face when finding like the right candidates to fill the apprenticeship roles? I mean, I know you have a wide variety of apprenticeships. Do you have a barrier recruiting individuals?
So I would say the policy of Miami-Dade College is where we were formerly a community college. Now we're a state college, but we still are a college that service our community. We have programs that where you don't need a high school diploma or GED, and then our credit programs, you do need a GED or high school equivalency exam or high school diploma to go into our credit programs. But there's no GPA requirement. So when it comes to our students become our apprentice because you first must enroll into Miami-Dade College and to be onboarded as an apprentice. You're not an official apprentice, as you know, until we have signed with that employer and that employer has onboarded you with a paid wage. So I would say the good thing about that is that our students, although college may not be for some, I was a high school guidance counselor for 16 years. And it was surprising to a lot of my colleagues that I would not advise all my students to go off to college. Depending on which student, I would say, I think this career or this avenue may be best for you. Maybe this student needs a little bit more maturing. Some students I would recommend they stay close to home because they may not be as responsible. And then other words, I'm like, see you later, go ahead and go off to Tallahassee or wherever you're going. So with that said, I love the fact that Miami-Dade College is not like a university where you must take these state assessments and have X GPA and X score. We welcome everyone. So with the apprenticeship, adding to that is we are allowing our students to take college credit courses that align with the apprenticeship simultaneous to their on-the-job training where they're working with that employer. So you're not just taking English, math, humanities, and economics when that has nothing to do with your career pathway. If you are in transportation logistics registered apprenticeship, your courses are only focused on transportation and logistics. And they are accelerated programs, so they can be 4 courses, some are 6 courses, and they're what we call stackable because they are stackable to an associate degree if that student decides to continue. So let's think about that. You're enrolled in Miami-Dade College, taking college courses, no entrance requirement, no prerequisite. And in the state of Florida, registered apprenticeships, tuition and fees are exempt. So we're not charging tuition and fees. You're going to college for free. We're linking you with an employer. We're starting you at $15 an hour minimum. You're going to have at least 1 or 2 pay increases. So most of our apprentices finish around $19 or $20 an hour, and it's all free of cost to you. And you finish with 3 completions: a college credit certificate from the state of Florida, and a completion of apprenticeship from the state of Florida and Department of Labor, and then an industry certification tied to your occupation.
Wow,
yeah.
That's excellent.
It's a lot.
We have a question for you. Dr. Roll, I'd love to hear about your youth apprenticeship. What is needed in strengthening this initiative? What key players need to be brought to the table to create additional value?
Great. So a question, and you're asking, you're going to assist me with this, I assume. So Ms. Wood, so the youth apprenticeship, right now we're waiting for our final stamp of approval, which we will get soon. It's for any youth between the ages of 17 and 24, not enrolled in high school. So you have high school pre-apprenticeship, clearly they're enrolled in high school, and youth apprenticeship 17 to 24 out of high school. What's needed are employers. So I named you all 5 current registered apprenticeship that Miami-Dade College offers. We can onboard and add any additional occupation if I have an employer. So for instance, if I'm speaking to crime scene technician, if the city of Miami decided to sign an employer agreement, which simply says we are agreeing to participate in Miami-Dade College registered apprenticeship program, they're not signing away how many apprentices they have to onboard or hire. they're just signing an agreement saying they're partnering with us. I can add that occupation to Miami-Dade College list of registered apprenticeships. So where I definitely need the link to employers that are interested in onboarding this apprentice. And as Sherry mentioned, it is a win-win for employers, because the number one request that I receive, or in conducting feedback with employers, okay, Miami-Dade, you all have the students sitting in classes and they're learning the coursework. But when they come to my business, my industry, they don't have the hands-on experience. Well, with the registered apprenticeship, you have both. They're learning the X's and O's, and then they're going out on the football field and being able to play. So I explain that to the employers all the time, that, you know, you are able to train the employee how you want them to work. So I would reiterate that where I need, and my email is listed as well, is if you have employers that are willing to hear about, I'm willing to explain. And if you have employers that are ready to onboard an apprentice, as long as we offer the courses and can offer the courses, can be an easily arranged marriage.
Okay, excellent. Our last question, for participants to enroll into the apprenticeship program, do they have to go in just like how you're enrolling in college, or what's the enrollment process?
Yes, so I have two apprenticeship services coordinator that assist the apprentice or future apprentice. And yes, it's the same Miami-Dade College application process. Of course, the fees and everything associated with that is exempt for apprentices, but they will go through the same process as if they are applying to Miami-Dade College. They will become a student and remain a student, enroll into their, what we call RTI, the Related Technical Instruction classroom courses. And then once they go through the HR process of the company, because obviously we allow the company to go through their processes, they are then hired, and they now are not only a student, they are a student apprentice. Same process.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Roll. If anyone have any additional questions, once again, our email address is on the bottom right-hand corner of the PowerPoint. Please feel free to reach out to her during this time or after our webinar. Thank you once again, Dr. Roll.
Thank you.
Our next panelist will have Mr. Bradley Keeby. He's the Executive Director of the Florida Masonry Apprenticeship and Education Foundation. Good morning, Mr. Keeby.
Thank you for having me today. Appreciate it.
How are you doing?
Fantastic, thank you.
All right. You want to tell us a little bit about the Florida Masonry Apprenticeship and Education Foundation and your role there?
Yeah, the foundation was actually formed in 2002 as a support agency for the trade organizations involved in the construction industry. We're funded mainly through masonry companies and producers of concrete block and the other aspects that are involved in the industry. And we support apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship through the school districts across the state of Florida. We have programs in colleges across the state of Florida, and we work directly with basically all the people that are involved in today's webinar. So it's a very great opportunity for us to be here and talk about the apprenticeship pros and cons and the things that we're seeing across the board. And I'm definitely thankful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. What are the barriers does your organization face when finding right companies to hire and right candidates to fill our apprenticeship roles?
Well, and like Dr. Roll said, and Sherry before her, we see the connection of industry and the apprenticeship program as being the most critical when it comes to being able to grow and offer opportunities for people to learn and start earning a better than a living wage, to be able to grow in their skills and advance in their careers. So being able to connect those employers who are willing and able to allow the folks that they hire and put into the apprenticeship program to be a part of that, to be able to continue to go through their stages of the apprenticeship program, whether it's an electrical program or a masonry program or a plumbing program. The apprenticeship programs are so vital to developing that skilled workforce that we need to be able to assure that our employers understand the value. And as Dr. Roll talked about, apprenticeship is free to the participant. The student does not have to pay. They don't pay for books. They don't pay for any of those things that are involved. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them to have very little risk and great reward when it comes to those opportunities. And as a foundation, we try to make sure that we're available to keep bringing that feeder pattern together, making sure that through pre-apprenticeship programs, through youth programs, through outreach programs that we have across the state of Florida, we're feeding those folks into apprenticeship and being able to allow them to take what they've learned in those pre-apprenticeship programs, like the ones that we've got with OIC, and go to the next step. They got to understand what's ahead of them as far as the talent is concerned, and connecting them into the apprenticeship programs with previous education, with possibly some beginning level industry certifications. You want to be able to stack those credentials and be able to grow. So as a foundation, we really focus on making sure that we have the opportunities to help anybody that wants to be involved move to that next level. What's next? What's next? How do I grow? How do I increase in my wages? How do I grow in my career? And it's initiatives that include all parties. So the personal initiative of the participant in the program, the initiative of allowing, from the employer standpoint, for that individual to learn more about that career and move forward. So there's a lot of great opportunities there that we always try and focus on.
No, that's excellent. With the current state of our economy, do you see any issues with in form of recruiting individuals for your program, and also even recruiting for new companies to get our individuals employed?
Well, with the blip in the radar that we've seen here over the last couple of months, and there is rebound that is happening already, and house starts and dwelling starts and those things have already started coming back. So I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing that we see. And a lot of our companies and those that are in the apprenticeship programs that are hiring folks, they're still looking for people. So, you know, the skills gap was so great for a while, and when the employment rate drops so low, it's even more difficult to find new folks to get into the program. So we're really connecting people from all aspects everywhere across the board to jobs, being able to connect them into the apprenticeship programs and into employment through the processes that we have in place. So we've got some great things going on, and our employers are still fighting hard to get folks within the jobs in the apprenticeship programs to continue to grow.
Excellent. From the Q&A, Mr. Kiwi, let's dive deeper into our idea of a participant's soft skills. Please briefly describe the need of soft skills of a successful participant.
Soft skills are critical. I mean, we include that in every aspect of training. So whether they're students in high school that are getting pre-apprenticeship training, or they're in short-term training, our first levels of training all involve soft skills, whether it's employability skills, communication skills, being able to understand, you know, that you have to show up to work on time. You have to be ready to work. You have to be able to work with others on a regular basis. Those things are critical. And the early levels of training involve a lot of that aspect. And we need to be able to continue that focus throughout training so that folks understand it. Because when you get yourself into a leadership role, someday you start as an apprentice and you're working with a journey level person on your job site and you're learning that process. In 5 years or so, you may be the person working with an apprentice. So you want to be learning those skills on how you're going to be able to best serve and continue to grow your trade. That's what apprenticeship is. It's learning from others who are skilled. And it's a thing that has been throughout the history of our world. Apprenticeship is, the backbone of how pyramids were built. And it just goes on and on. So it's one of those things that, the continued growth of human interaction and skills in understanding how to work with people is key. And, in the construction trades particularly, you've got multiple trades working together on a single job. And, there's technology now through blueprints where they put everything together and have to see where there are some discrepancies and where things need to be changed. And all the different trades need to work together to be able to cut down on cost, increase efficiency, and be most productive in the work that they do. So soft skills are critical to making sure that people understand how that works.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Kibbe, for joining us. If anyone have any additional questions, actually another question came in real quick.
Okay.
Most of our participants at OIC are returning citizens. How have you overcome employer hesitancy to hire employees with felony records?
It's funny, we actually work really close with the Florida Department of Corrections. There are actually currently 9 active masonry programs within the prison system for the state of Florida. So we have had a lot of events where we've brought contractors in to be able to see what's being taught within the system, to see how those folks have been building their skills, both soft and trade related. And this past January, we actually had a competition, first ever competition within the Florida Department of Corrections system, where the different locations brought folks to Baker Correctional in North Florida, and we had a masonry competition like we would for Skills USA or a masonry apprenticeship folks. It was the same type of project. It was the same skill level. The things that they needed to do were on par. They were equal to what happens in the workforce. So we had contractors, state representatives, all sorts of folks. There were as many people with ties on as there were people working. So it was a very positive event. It got national recognition through our workforce folks and through the Department of Corrections as well. So, those are the types of things that we do, and in partnering with OIC to look at the transitional piece and how to be able to get folks from the, being in the care of a facility to being able to move back into daily life is a critical aspect. And the credit that they're getting for the work they're doing in those facilities also articulates into the apprenticeship program. So the direct connection, and we've got folks that are working in our trade that have been in the system and are doing fantastic. And they're hard workers, and they show up every day because they learned what they need to do to be a part of our trades. Excellent.
All right. Thank you once again, Mr. Kibbe. If anyone have any additional questions, please feel free to email Mr. Kibbe. His email address is at the bottom right-hand corner of this PowerPoint. Once again, thank you. Our next panelist is Ms. Catherine Menace. She's the Senior Project Coordinator for the Office of Economic and Small Business Development of Broward County. Good morning, Ms. Menace.
Good morning, Mr. Luke. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about the Office of Economic and Small Business Development and your current role there?
I sure can. The Office of Economic and Small Business Development, we are the county agency that's responsible for the economy and enhancing it by recruiting new and supporting existing industries, as well as creating new employment opportunities for the residents of Broward County. My role as the Apprenticeship Training Coordinator is to ensure that the ordinance that was recently passed on June 2nd is shared and understood by the community through building relationships and coordinating and implementing their programs. We do not have a program here at Broward County, but it is important that you know the county is growing by leaps and bounds. And we are working with those programs to ensure that they will all come together. Mr. Kibbe, they're one of the programs, one of the training programs that offers skills training here in Broward County.
Excellent. As you talk about those opportunities that are going on in Broward County, I recently heard that the county is actually giving out specific contracts specifically to apprenticeships. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit on that?
They're not giving out contracts to apprenticeships. What they have is an ordinance that was passed on June 2nd that's going to require that the employment of apprentices on certain county contracts. So for a county contract that's $5 million or more, we are requiring those SBEs and CBEs to bring on at least 12% of their workforce as apprentices. So that's where the building the relationship has come in with me and my role. Vice Mayor Geller, along with Mayor Dale Holness and Commissioner Bogan, have sponsored the ordinance, which unanimously passed. And the next role, of course, it's delayed because of COVID and the emergency order that's in place. But once we get past that, we will immediately have those companies that are registered here in Broward County participate in a tracking system that we will be able to then monitor how they're hiring the apprentices.
Excellent. Can other apprenticeships from other counties participate in this as well also?
We do have programs that are in Miami-Dade County as well as West Palm Beach that have jurisdiction here in Broward. I work along with Region 4 and Region 5 that covers from St. Port Lucie all the way to Homestead. So those programs, we have a database that we can share with anyone that's interested in becoming an apprentice. We can direct them as to where they can go and get the skills training that's needed. There's 16 programs here in Broward County. There's about 43 out of the Miami-Dade up to Port St. Lucie that's registered with the state of Florida. You will see that I've provided on the screen the links to those programs. The Department of Labor with the apprenticeship.gov and the Florida Department of Education, where they can look and see what the requirements are for the apprenticeships.
Okay, and that would include the eligibility requirements to be eligible.
Eligibility requirements as well. For the most part, most of the programs are requiring 18 or older. They have to have a valid ID. Some of them are saying no criminal history, but there are other programs that would work with them. They can provide an official transcript of their education. We're also taking those who are military veterans, as well as proficiency in the English language.
Okay. Excellent. There's actually a Q&A. How do employers and interested participants sign up? And what is the approximately turnaround time in the selection process?
They would sign up through the Florida Department of Education, and the link is provided there on the screen, fldoe.org. The time that it takes, I can't tell you because I don't do those, and I'm sure that as the word continues to get out more employers will be getting on the bandwagon to make it happen, but I cannot tell you how long it will be. I can give you a reference though, Valerie Hilsman with the Department of Education who handles that processing.
Excellent. If anyone have any additional questions, Ms. Menace, email address on the bottom right-hand corner. Please feel free to reach out to her. Thank you once again, Ms. Menace, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. We'll now have a quick message from our President and CEO, Mr. Newton Sannon.
I first want to start by thanking all of our panelists, Sherry Kohler-Chervais, Dr. Roll, Bradley Keeby, Catherine Minutes, and I want you to know that we really appreciate your continued partnership. I think this discussion is quite timely. Even prior to COVID, what we know is that the folks that OIC continues to work on and serve from a workforce development perspective are folks that are typically unemployed, underemployed, have many barriers that have derailed their academic and vocational success. And then here comes COVID, right? To add flame to the fire. And I believe that one of the challenges that I'm concerned about yet presents a great opportunity for the work of workforce development, particularly in this climate, is apprenticeships. Because so often our folks may not have the academic rigor that they've accomplished to date. They may not have the strongest of work history, yet they have a deep desire and commitment to earn a skill in exchange for a livable wage. And that becomes more challenging when you have at least 13% unemployment, at least here in Broward, and similar numbers in Dade. Yet now we're going to find our folks who have these barriers competing for jobs for the general population who may not have these barriers. And hence, I think one of the greatest opportunities presents to resolve and meet this challenge is apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. So we appreciate the support of our partners in trying to get this done because we're finding that these are trying times for everyone. And so OIC stands firm in our commitment to be a provider of providing quality self-help skills for unemployed and underemployed residents of our community, but we cannot do it without your support. So one, I want to encourage those who are seeking a job, trying to get themselves back on track given the unemployment, reach out to our organization. We remain stead firm, trying to support you and serve you as best as we can, as well as with our partners. And to the employers out there, we believe that we provide a viable resource source and being an extension of your human resource department. And from some small businesses, sometimes we become your human resource department, making sure that we recognize you have a business to run and making sure folks have the adequate skill sets, attitudes, and aptitudes necessary to move your business forward. So reach out to us. We ask you to have a conversation. As heard Dr. Rose say earlier, that a lot of times our role is around helping employers to understand the value proposition of apprenticeships. But we believe that one of the most important assets is your human assets. And the good news is our organization, along with our partners, stand prepared to ready to work alongside you to listen first and foremost to the needs of your organization from a skill set standpoint, as well as the culture you desire to make sure you get the right candidate in these jobs. So again, we welcome everybody to continue to contribute to this effort. A thriving economy helps everyone. It creates the opportunity for people to earn a livable wage, and certainly businesses, it gives folks the resources necessary to really support your businesses. And that's how microeconomics and workforce development all comes full circle. Again, I want to close by saying thank you to our supporters, our panelists who continue to partner with us. I know that our organization stands steady and firm to navigate through these uncertain times and a lot of challenges. Yet we believe as we as a collective, like on this call, continue to work together, there'll be great success for this community from an economic and workforce standpoint. I'll wrap up by saying stay safe, everyone. Like you, we're anxious to get back to some level of normalcy, but we're not quite there yet. And so we ask everybody to stay safe, be perseverant through these uncertain times. And as a collective community, we will get better and come out on this thing on the other side a whole lot stronger than we were before. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Sanin. And lastly, to close us out, we'll have Mr. Anthony Robinson, Director of Workforce Development, speak to us.
Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. The relationship between the apprentice and the mentor is one of the most beautiful and sacred relationships. In sharing the wisdom with his apprentice, the mentor creates more opportunities in order to provide more wisdom to him. I share the information with you because it talks about how important apprenticeships are and why it's important that we continue and make sure that we have these apprenticeship programs. I want to thank everyone for being on the panel today because information you provided was real helpful and shared a lot of knowledge to us and how we can continue to make economic improvements within our communities. So I want to thank everyone for being a part of this webinar today. We appreciate everyone for your help. And as Mr. Sanders said, please be safe and please protect yourself while you're out there. And just remember this, workforce development plus apprenticeships equals economic improvement. Thank you all and have a great day.